Hi, my name is Jay Sugarman, and I want to welcome you to Museum Open House. This ongoing series features and highlights many of the outstanding museums and other cultural institutions. The main purpose of most programs is to inform viewers about current and upcoming exhibits, various programs, resources, and other opportunities that are available for the general public. Today, via Zoom, we're fortunate to have as our guest Dr. Jean Borgatti. Dr. Borgatti is a renowned scholar of African art and serves as the Consulting Curator for African, Oceanic, and Native American art at the Fitchburg Art Museum. Recently, Dr. Borgatti was the curator and guiding force behind the current outstanding exhibition entitled Festival, a celebration of African art. This is the first exhibition in a special series honoring the museum's centennial. Drawing from the museum's African art collection, the exhibition is organized around universal themes: life, death, power, love, and celebration, and explores how art is woven into daily, ceremonial, and spiritual life across cultures and centuries. During the program, Dr. Brigatti will inform us why and how the exhibition came about. We'll go on a behind the scenes tour and in the process come to better understand and appreciate how art across cultures and centuries reflects the values, creativity, and shared humanity that connect us all. Let's start by meeting Dr. Brigatti and finding all about Festival, a celebration of African art. Welcome, Jean. So delighted you're able to be here.
Well, thank you. It's my pleasure to be here, be able to talk about one of my favorite subjects, which is African art.
Terrific, terrific. Well, eager to find out about the exhibition, inform viewers. But before we jump right to that, I think it would be of interest if you'd share just a little bit more about your background, perhaps academic, professional interest, and your association with the Fitchburg Art Museum, please.
Sure. First of all, I'm an art historian. I'm not an anthropologist. I did my undergraduate work majoring in art history with a focus on modern art at Wellesley College, so I'm local in that sense. I did my master's and my PhD at UCLA, where I focused on the art of Africa, Oceania, and the art of the first peoples of the Americas. Uh, it was modern art that brought me to African art.
Mm.
Um, Largely because of the importance of African art in moving Western artists at the end of the 19th century into new ways of looking at the world and representing the world. African art was a new field when I started. And so it gave me the opportunity to do something that nobody else had done before. I was able to do research in a place where other people had not already trampled the ground. And it also gave me an opportunity, or at least to feel that I would be able to make a real contribution because I was doing something new. Um, I joined the Fitchburg Art Museum in 2010 as a consulting curator when the African art collection there began to grow, and it became clear that they needed somebody with some expertise in the area to help manage that growth and the exhibition of the material that they were being given. So, so shall I move into screen share? Because I
I
would
think,
like to at
yes.
least.
Yeah. Would you please share? I know you've prepared some wonderful images.
Okay, and so this, of course, shows the exhibition where and I'm sitting in front of the same objects that I was photographed in front of last week. And it also shows me a long time ago, working in Africa when I was engaged in researching aspects of ritual behavior and
Mhm.
the art associated with that behavior in Nigeria.
Jean, what
So,
was your curatorial vision for festival, and why was this the right exhibition to launch the Fitchburg Art Museum Centennial?
Well, I guess I'll start with why we started with Africa. And it basically, because an historical accident, what galleries were available to work in uh, at the right time. And of course, Africa is a strength of ours. And so we started there. But our vision was really to show our community the best of what we have, as well as the diversity of forms and materials that African artists have worked with over time. Um, so we were working not only with iconic or classic works of art, but also more contemporary works, some made by community-based artists who are trained through the apprenticeship method, and others works by artists who are working in new materials and in new ways, and who got their art training through art schools or universities.
Mhm.
Um,
You know, as we mentioned in the introduction, the exhibition centers on universal themes: life, death, power, love, and celebration. Why were these themes especially important to highlight in presenting African art?
Well, I think first of all, I mean, to get to the meaning of these issues, these are basic human values, and which we all share. And we have in this exhibition, we have many different types of objects and many different cultures whose work is represented, or the artists from many different cultures whose work is represented. There's something like 225 objects in the show. Um, and these large themes help people, we hope, um, who are people who are not familiar with the forms, to understand them a bit better, to not be overwhelmed by this variety and the numbers of things in the exhibition. And as I said, to identify with the people who made and use these things on on a basic human level.
Mhm. How did you approach selecting works that span from first millennium terracottas to contemporary sculpture? And what does that long timeline reveal?
Well, first of all, you work with what you have. Yeah. And we have been fortunate uh, to have generous donors who have gifted the museum with objects that allow us to show that African art has a history, a real history, uh, that includes continuity over a long period of time as well as change. The slide on the screen actually shows you chronologically, the oldest
Mm.
work we have in the exhibition is the one on the left, and one of the newer works. And of course, both of these are in the same material, probably made with very much the same kind of technology, even though they are 2,000 years apart. Um, and they're not from exactly the same area, but they are both at least from what is now the country of Nigeria.
Mhm. What challenges did you encounter in curating such a wide-ranging exhibition, and how did you work through them?
Well, for me, the greatest challenge was how I was going to communicate the meaning of these objects um, because of space constraints.
Mm.
When you have a lot of objects, you have a lot of labels. And because we are a bilingual museum, all our labels are done in both languages, which means we
Mm.
have twice as many labels
Wow.
as a museum that only works in one language. Um, the so what we did do, since we were trying to keep too many labels off the walls, because we didn't want them to distract from the people's ability to look at the objects, we provided a general introduction to each gallery, which
Mm.
we hope shows people, again, gives people a general idea of what those objects in the gallery mean and how they were used, but only in a very general sense. And then each work has basic identification associated with it. And you see that kind of information on the slide on the screen. Uh, so it would have the artist name and the artist nationality and ethnic origins. The ethnic origin of the piece, if we don't have an artist name, the whatever it is, as
Mhm.
a seated male figure with an upraised arm, for example, on the left, the material that it's made from, and how we a general date or as specific a date as we can establish for a particular piece, and how we got the piece. So that in most of our iconic or classic pieces have been given to us as gifts. So
Mhm.
those pieces have a donor's name associated with them. In many of our more contemporary pieces are museum purchases, and we make that clear as well. So
And I think the next slide provides additional information.
yes. And this shows basically the kind of labels that I like to do. And what I want to do is show you the book. We have books in we have made up books that go in each gallery, uh, which include the kind of information you now see on the screen. So there is more information about how a work was used, how it was discovered in some cases, a photograph associated with that piece if we could locate one, and so on. And so I would encourage you when you come into a gallery to pick up the book,
Hmm.
either in Spanish or English, depending on which language is more comfortable for you. Uh, and look through it, or if you're interested in a particular piece, each piece is numbered so you can find the piece easily in the book and learn a little bit more about it.
Jean, can you walk us through the four organizing concepts, masquerade, ceremonial life, ritual life, and domestic life, and how they shape the visitor experience, please?
Yes, I will try to do that. With so many objects on display, we felt that these concepts uh, help the visitors manage their experience and not be overwhelmed. Masks belong to characters with particular personalities that are specific to their own cultures. Ceremonial life encompasses regalia, from crowns and weapons that indicate authority, uh, to musical instruments, to full masquerade costumes, which the appearance of which often will validate a particular occasion in the community that made it. And that's true even today. Ritual life displays objects linked to worship, animist worship, Christian worship, Islamic worship. And these objects often provide a link or connection to the appropriate spiritual force for the people who actually use them. Domestic life, of course, features objects historically made locally um, by the people themselves and used during everyday activities, toys and games, pillows or headrests, weights for use with scales, and so on. So there are, and many other things. But there's a lot to look at, and so we thought this might help people manage that experience a little bit better.
As we mentioned, masquerades play a central role in many African cultures. What do you most want visitors to understand about their cultural and spiritual significance?
Well, first of all, masquerades are not a central focus of our exhibition. Uh, they are just the first things you see. Uh, and in fact, they are what most people think of when they think about African art,
Mhm.
even though the area where people who use masks as cultural tools covers just a small percentage of the continent. As you can see in this map on the screen, those white areas are the places where people actually make and use masks in their historically in their own cultures. Now, masks occupy a lot of space in museums, and that's true in our
Mm.
museum as well. I think it's because they're just so visually dramatic.
Yeah.
And they have such interesting stories associated with what they mean and how they are worked. What I would like people to understand about masks is that the masks you see in museums, for the most part, are fragments. And that's true in our museum, obviously, as it is in most other museums. They're fragments just like the head of a piece of Greek sculpture.
Hmm.
Um, so that a mask is really something part of a larger aesthetic construction. Each mask has its own story. Each mask represents a character with a personality. And that character and personality is developed by costume, by music, by song, by dance. While we can appreciate masks as sculptural forms, uh, after all, this is how art is appreciated in the West. I think it's really important to understand that this is the way we display masks in our museums is not the way masks are displayed in their own cultures.
Mm.
Um, Generally, masks personify spirits and they represent ideas or principles, basically to help people understand complex issues. Not unlike the way statuary in a Catholic church during the
Mm.
Renaissance was used to help people understand ideas within that particular religious context. But as I said, each mask has its own story and its own role to play. A mask may be powerful and dangerous, or it might be playful and entertaining. Now, to help our visitors understand a little bit more about how masks are displayed in their own cultures and more about their meanings in some cases, we have an interactive space at the museum
Ah.
where we have some short video clips playing that feature some of the masks, not all of them, because you'd be here till tomorrow. But some of those masks that are on display, and I'd like to just point them out to you.
Please.
So here we have the mask on display is on the left, and I have on the right a still photograph, which is comparable to the moving image you'll see in the video clip. And so this is a Gallaudet mask from the Yoruba people from what is now Nigeria. This is a Dan mask from what is from the countries that are now Liberia and Ivory Coast. This is an Ukpula messenger masquerade, and it comes out with the dead fathers or commemorative masquerades. And you can see one behind me, which is on
Hmm.
display here.
Hmm.
The Ukpula live again in what is Nigeria. And this is a very small ethnic group, but it's the group among whom I worked and did my own research. We have a short video on the Bamana headdresses, the antelope headdresses. These are quite familiar art forms to many people because their design capabilities have been recognized for a long period, especially the male with the open work carved mane. And we have a mask used by several different ethnic groups, the Mende, the Vai, and the Temne. The one on display is from the Vai people. And this is particularly interesting because it's one of the only masks that is not made by, but owned by women and performed by women. Most
Mm.
masks in Africa are performed by men, even if the character which is being portrayed is a female character.
Jean, how does festival challenge common or expand Western assumptions about African art?
Well, I hope people will leave our exhibit with a sense of the richness of uh, of the diversity of African visual culture through this group of objects. We have some 90 or so ethnic groups that are represented, which is just a very small fraction of the numbers of different ethnic groups and peoples who live across the African continent. We do have a wonderful map which shows where the objects which are on view actually come from. And they do come from more or less all the main areas, from West Africa, from Central Africa, from North Africa, from Southern Africa, and East Africa. And I hope our visitors will leave having an understanding that African art is not just a mask on the wall, that it has changed over time, and this is true of art in all cultures, and that it will continue to grow and change. And I hope people will come away after looking at what we are presenting with the understanding in their hearts, not just in their heads, that Africa is a continent. It is not a country. That diversity is enormous across. I mean, Africa is 1/5 of the world's landmass. There are 54 countries encompassed in this continent.
Jean, is there a particular object or grouping in the exhibition that you feel really captures the spirit of festival?
Well, I would say there are many, but the two that I would picked out in response to that are both in the ceremonial arts gallery. One is the Drummers by Sakari Douglas Camp, who is a contemporary or modern artist who was trained at university and art school. And this is one of the first pieces, or in a sense, it's a pair, but made by somebody trained in the Western tradition, an African artist trained in the Western tradition, but whose work reflects thoughtfully on her own cultural background. The other piece is Lawrence Ajanaku's cloth applique masquerade, and you see part of it here on the right-hand side of the slide. It's a cloth applique masquerade. It's the one I call Ancient Mother. Both of these are works of art are celebratory, and in terms of their use and the way they were conceived of by the artists who made them. And festival indeed is a celebration. It's a celebration of our collection, and it's a celebration of the way that collection enriches our community. I'm going to welcome you.
Welcome, welcome. Fabulous, fabulous. Building on that, how does the exhibition emphasize the diversity of cultures, traditions, and artistic practices across the African continent?
Well, I think it's the visual variety, the mix of materials. There's wood, iron, brass, bronze, leather, terracotta, calabash or gourd, silk, cotton, beads, cowrie shells, seeds, raffia. There are different kinds of objects, from things that might be surprising to things that might be more expected. There are new objects, things made fairly recently. There are also old objects, things made 2,000 years ago. Materials are worked with different techniques. And indeed, our interactive space has a group of objects in different materials, in wood, in terracotta, in iron, in brass, beads, and woven cloth that you can touch. These are available for people to visit, to feel, and to get a real sense of the materials themselves. And the wooden objects, the clay pot, the forged iron anklet, and the woven cloth all have small video labels associated with them, which show the artists working that material. So
Wonderful.
you can actually see the object and the way the wood is carved or the cloth is woven, for example.
Jean, how does this exhibition connect to Fitchburg Art Museum's long-term commitment to African art collecting and scholarship?
Well, let me say first that festival is not a Black History Month exhibition. Every day is Black History Day at the Fitchburg Art Museum. We
Mm.
are very proud of our African collection. And we feel it fills a gap in central Massachusetts in terms of what people can see. The Worcester Art Museum, the Danforth Art Museum in Framingham, neither of these museums have African art regularly on display. And we feel that our collection serves a significant population, which is African, which is now resident in central Massachusetts. And we also, certainly I also feel very strongly that the general population um, can benefit enormously from, I think this is where I wanted to be,
Mhm.
benefit enormously from seeing this material and learning about the incredible legacy of creativity that Africa has given and continues to give to our world.
Wonderful, wonderful. What educational and programming opportunities does Festival offer for students, families, and community groups?
There are so many. Um, we have regular school tours. In fact, when I came in this morning to set up, there was a school group in these galleries working with one of our volunteer guides. Um, we have regular after school programs for students, and students, of course, come to us during school vacation periods. We also provide art activities on the first Thursday of the month when we are open until 7 o'clock in the evening, which is a bit later than our normal opening hours. We partner with Fitchburg State University in a variety of ways. Uh, our staff members lecture in classes that are being given at the university, and our topics are drawn from the collections that we have at the museum. I certainly give classes to senior citizens through Fitchburg's Alpha program, as well as through the Worcester WISE program. And these, again, are linked to exhibits that I have organized at the museum so people can come and visit those exhibitions and see the objects in their reality, not just as slides on a screen.
Jean,
Uh,
in the minute we have left, if visitors could leave with one lasting impression from Festival, what would you hope that would be?
um, that African art is not just a mask on the wall, that it's made by artists who are sensible of themselves as being artists and proud of that. And these are artists who are represented in our exhibition. And I hope you'll look for their work. Uh, and that if you want more information, we hope you will visit our website, www.fitchburgartmuseum.org.
Fabulous, fabulous.
Do I have time to give people a very quick recap?
I think we're going to have to wait on that just because we're really at the end, but you've done a fabulous job giving us this tremendous overview. We'll have some additional contact information in the closing credits and just encourage everybody to make their way. Until when will the exhibition be on display, Jean?
Until December of 2027. No,
Oh,
six, to
fabulous.
2026. I mean, soon up for a full year.
Oh, fabulous,
So there's a
fabulous.
lot of time.
Again, thank you so much. Eager to visit myself and just continued success with all future endeavors.
Well, thank you for having us and helping us share our material with the community.
Oh, Fitchburg Art Museum always has interesting things for the general public, so our pleasure. Also want to thank those of you watching for joining us and hope you'll be able to tune in next time.